I want to introduce our next speaker. He was born and brought up by his mother in a deprived area of a town beginning with B. He began his working life with Tier Fund. For those that don't know it, one of the biggest and really the best international development agencies in the UK. He worked in Washington, D.C. with President Clinton's advisor, Reverend Tony Capolo. He was a BBC journalist, a graduate of the Operation Black Vote scheme and Labour's Future Candidate scheme. And in May 2016, he became the first elected mayor of Black African heritage of any European city. And having overseen the building of 9,000 homes, announced the development of a mass transit system, and brought Channel 4 to the city, he was re-elected in May. Without a single clue about where we're going to go, I would like to see if we can successfully, and this is my moment of fear, fantastic, Marvin, successfully introduce the two terms Mayor of Bristol, Marvin Rees. Marvin, can you hear me? I can hear. I can see that you may be able to hear me, but we can only see your lips move. Gary, can we do something to unmute you?
There we go. It's done.
There you go. A proper interactive effort. Right. Marvin, we are so looking forward to you telling us where we're coming for the Big Tent Festival in 2022. Marvin Rees.
Well, I'm really pleased to say that I've got a big echo there. I'm really pleased to say that you're going to be in Bristol on the 10th and 11th of June, and we are really looking forward to hosting.
Fantastic. Marvin, tell us a little bit about why you want us to come to Bristol and about what you're doing in the city.
So I attended a big event, contributed to a discussion last year, and I really valued it, really valued George hosting as well, and I'd met George before anyway with transport issues. I was actually on a community radio station being interviewed this morning, and when I shared that I'm not standing again for Mayor of Bristol, but one of the things I would like to leave, as well as lots of houses, is to have gone on a bit of a journey to have a better quality of civic discourse. I don't even just want to say political discussion, just the way we talk in general needs to be better. I think we're in a real danger. We all know we use these phrases a lot: polarized and siloed. I'd say one of the biggest dangers we face at the moment is oversimplification and single-dimensional ideas being applied to a complicated and contradictory world. And certainly, I say myself, I'm a fallen human being, and and if you could see inside me, you'd see all sorts of contradictions and hypocrisies. If you put 460,000 people together in a city and give it a couple of thousand years of history, you're going to find contradictions and hypocrisies and unintended consequences and all that. That's what we are as human beings, and we need a way of talking publicly that takes that seriously and recognizes it, and recognizes that sometimes good things can have negative consequences for some people. For example, there are no clean outs in the world, and with the Big Tent coming to Bristol, one is that's what it's about, and that's what I experienced. But I think it could be a real investment in Bristol, in the ability of Bristol and everyone else who participates in raising the need for that, and in our ability to begin doing it.
So, Marvin, tell us a little bit about what you've set out to achieve and what you're planning to achieve in what is another 4 years left? 3 years.
Yeah, 2.5 years now. So, in the name of those complexities and contradictions, I've actually tried to really take a step back, not from the front line, but in the argument. And I can go to any number of meetings where I'll get shouted at and people won't like what's going on. Although, to be honest, most people are quite civil because they see it's a challenging role. But I have been in situations, and I said, look, you're looking at step 5 and the point of disagreement. Why don't we go back upstream and find out what we do actually agree on before we start, kind of saying, well, because you don't see the problem the way I see it, analyze it in the way I analyze it, so you solve it in the way I solve it, therefore you are an enemy. Let's not start there, where we have to have exactly the same worldview. Let's go back upstream and see if we identify the city and its challenges in the same way. I do this a lot with our housing challenges, when people tell me they don't want houses built here, they don't want them built there. All right, let's go back to basics. We're a city of 42 square miles. We're not getting any more for those miles. 42 square miles. We have a population of 465,000 people. We're going to grow to 550,000 by 2050. We have more than 15,000 people on our housing waiting list, over 1,000 households in temporary accommodation. 1 in 4 of our children living in poverty in the city, and we know that's been worsened. The vulnerabilities of many of the most vulnerable people have been, embedded through the course of COVID. We're a very unequal city. There's a startling reality here that in Clifton Ward, almost every teenager will go on to university, which is quite remarkable. When you compare that to in Bristol South in Hartcliffe, it's just 1 in 12. We're a city that's got a fantastic story to tell to the outside world, but that story overlays a lot of inequality. So my point is, we've got to solve those challenges, right? It's a moral responsibility, but also it's an economic responsibility. We need a skilled workforce. We need a physically well workforce that is resilient, will continue to go to work, won't miss days for back pain and depression. We need all those things politically and morally. So not solving those problems is not an option, but we have to solve those problems in the context of a climate and ecological emergency. So if you play that over into housing, I think delivering homes, regeneration, if you've been talking about, is one of the single most important policy tools we have. A warm home, a zero carbon home in a balanced community that people get to build relationships and put roots down. But now I've got people saying, yeah, but we've got an ecological emergency. How can you keep building houses? Well, it's not that we can't build houses. It's just that we've got 2 very difficult challenges that they both are important, but they're difficult to hold together sometimes. We have to build tens of thousands of houses in Bristol, but we also have to meet an ecological and a climate emergency. We have to do all those things at the same time. And that's the space we need to talk about how we deliver against those complex, interdependent, sometimes conflicting priorities that we must meet all at the same time. And that's what we face as a city. And again, that's what I hope we can begin to touch on with the kind of big tent philosophy for leadership and thinking.
So Marvin, I'm going to ask you one last question. Our theme for today is effective regeneration, and we started with a series of, I think, 8 interviews with people answering one thing that they thought needed to happen to help along effective regeneration. You've now got 2 members of Her Majesty's government in the room. What is the one thing, and we only gave them a minute, so because you've said this is a complex subject, I'm going to give you a minute. What is the one thing you would want them to take away in terms of delivering effective regeneration in Bristol?
Predictable, dependable finance that is accessible to city leaders.
Fantastic. Got in 4 words, let alone in 30. Marvin, I cannot tell you how excited we are about coming to Bristol. It's a fantastic location for us. It's a great venue. I'm also really excited to discover whether you exist in 3 dimensions. But meanwhile, we've been really, really pleased to have you with us. And thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, Marvin Rees.
Take care.